Hey everyone, James Labrie from Dream Theater, and you're listening to or watching the podcast Talking into Infinity with JT and Brian. Enjoy this. These guys are extremely informative. I love their dialogue. I love their interpretation of the songs, who and what we are, what we were going after. They're very accurate in their interpretations and descriptions, and I just think this is a great show, and these guys are doing a stand-up stellar job. So once again, enjoy Talking into Infinity with JT and Brian.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Talking into Infinity, a Dream Theater podcast. I am your host, John. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, talkingintoinfinity.com, and the CMSnetwork.com. We are live at those 4 locations every other Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you would like to catch video replays of the show, please check out Heavy Metal Television or just go to our YouTube channel. And if you would like to catch audio replays of the show, just Google Talking into Infinity podcast, and we are on any audio platform you can think of. And if you are watching live on YouTube, please do not forget to click that like button and click that subscribe button so that you are notified every time we go live. Occasionally, we do special shows, and you do not want to miss those because you don't know what's coming up on those. So without further ado, let me bring on my esteemed co-host, Mr. Brian Hendrickson. What is up, man?
Buddy?
How is it going?
Awesome, man. We already have like multiple comments, and like we literally just started the show. That's what's so fun about it.
I know. Look at oh my God. So you're gonna have to bring up comments tonight because I can't bring them up.
Okay.
So you're gonna have to be the comment master. So look at that. So Michael Greer, he says, "Hey, how's it going?" So good to see you, Michael. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. There's our buddy Giovanni Palaya. How's it going, dude? He says, and the winner is Awake. No contest. We've got Gibson Les Paul checking in. Said this is going to be like Spence versus Ugas from last weekend, with Spence being Awake and Ugas being 6 Degrees. A hell of an effort by 6 Degrees, but Awake is too damn good and gets the TKO.
All right, you're going to have to explain that because I have no idea what that reference means.
There was a fight last weekend. I believe it was a UFC fight. Correct me if I'm wrong, Gibson. But yeah, there was a major fight last weekend. So look at this. All right, bring up Toomey. Josh Toomey, those dudes looking in your ears, finding nothing. Hey Toomey, shut up, man. I'm rocking your show tonight. Don't be a dick. So it's Adam Rishog. He says, evening gents, long time. This is going to be one hell of a battle. Sean Jovi, a new viewer, says, hey, y'all. Relatively new listener here, though I binged a ton of episodes over the past month. That's awesome, man. Well, thank you for tuning in live, and thank you for checking out the show. And, of course, we would be remiss without mentioning our very good friend, Kale McLeish. And he says, Awake cage match when I want to keep sleeping. Nice.
You can always count on him for a good pun.
I know.
Or at least a pun.
Yeah. So I have to give you a lot of credit, man. Like, I am still in Facebook jail. I'm not technically in jail, but I'm restricted. So we had to remove me as an admin on Facebook. So you actually have to lead the show, at least on the tech side, because we wouldn't be on Facebook if it was up to me, because I'm not allowed. So I'm not able to bring up comments today and everything. That's why I'm on the right side of the screen instead of the left. So
I do want to say thank you very much, Joshua Toomey. I am super handsome. I appreciate it. Your check is in the mail. There's a lot of ways to make 50 cents. That's one of them.
That is awesome, man. Oh man. So yeah, by the way, Toomey has an awesome show on the Knotfest network. So go check him out. He's got some kick-ass interviews with like a whole bunch of major stars in the music world. So check that out. So Brian, like, you're not the sharpest stick in the tree, but I got to tell you, lately you have had some really good ideas for the show. One of which would be removing Toomey's comment from the screen, and You'll get used to it, dude. You'll get used to it. But yeah, you. All kidding aside, you've had some really kick-ass ideas for the show lately, and we've got a bunch of stuff in the pipeline that we're really excited about. But for tonight's show, obviously, we're going to do the album cage match. It's going to be 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence versus Awake, which I found to be really, really difficult. I don't know how it was for you, but you had the idea to intro the show by doing a mini cage match. You said that we should, because you liked it when we do the album deep dives. You're like, okay, the album came out in 97. Here's a bunch of other records that came out in 97. And you said that we should pick an album from each of the years the 2 cage match records came out from and do a mini cage match to start the show. And I thought that was an awesome idea. So why don't you tell everybody what records we picked to do a very, very quick battle. We're not going to go song by song, but let everybody know what albums we picked.
Okay. So for 1994, we picked Queensryche Promised Land.
Yes.
That was fairly easy on that one. The tougher one was 2002. We were torn between 2 albums, one of which was Black Label Society 1919. Not very proggy, but one of your favorite bands, and a band that I've sort of really just kind of gotten into the last few years. So we ended up going with a band we just talked about 2 weeks ago on the discography discussion, Symphony X Odyssey, which is kind of their... I mean, we talked about before on that show that sort of every album gets a little bit better production, and this is probably their second best before they make the ginormous leap to their really great produced stuff. But this is pretty solid production for that year. So yeah, we picked those 2, and I don't know about you, but I had not listened to Promised Land, and I don't know if I heard listen to a single song on it in 5 years, maybe longer. I don't know.
Wow.
I really dug diving into that one. I don't know about you.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of that record, man. It's a record that I never thought that I would be a fan of because it is kind of weird. I think it's, you have, it's sandwiched right between Empire and Here in the Now Frontier, which is a really weird place to be. But as I was listening back to it, I mean, I've listened to it more recently than you have. But as I was listening back to it, and I don't know how you feel about this, but I think that it's almost like a combination of Empire and Rage for Order. So
yeah, I think that's a really good point. I in my notes I put it's very Peter Gabriel-ish to a degree.
Okay.
It's all the other thing is it's super. Everything is kind of sludgy and like mid-tempo-y. It always kind of feels like, man, let's just pick up the tempo a tail, like we're just dragging like this giant sonic carcass across the landscape or something. Is the way that I can think of it. And it sort of bogs down in the middle for me. It starts out with the like IMI is just I mean that was the first thing I'd heard from them since Empire. I remember hearing that riff. I was like, what is this? There's a little bit of tinges of sort of, I don't want to say it sounds like grunge, but there's kind of some grunge elements in it to a degree. Okay. But they still got those killer like dissonant chord voicings that they use, banging, clashing against each other. And it's real, like you said, I kind of term it also as like atmospheric, and that's where I think you get the rage part, but there's like sort of that the bass is always kind of thumping away on the downbeat. So that gives you a lot of the thumping parts of like Empire. So yeah, I'm totally on board with that. I think it's a decent combo of the 2.
Yeah. I think it's just, it's a record that I didn't get into when it first came out because I was used to Mindcrime and Empire and Rage for Order and some of the more classic stuff. And I was like, what is this? Like, I remember watching that whole MTV Headbangers Ball release thing where they were in a plane hangar and they had fans listening to it on these like individual stations. And I was like, what is that? And I think it's probably still my least favorite song on the record.
Oh, really?
I mean, I like it. Yeah, but I mean, there's a whole bunch of other stuff. I mean, Eddie Jackson, his bass tone is just killer. I mean, it's basically all the same tones from Empire, just jacked up a little bit. But then there's like, you could see Jeff Tate going into his I want to be creative guy type of thing. And I think there's more than enough of the classic Queensryche sound in there to kind of keep you anchored. And then there's those interesting parts, which is why I kind of compare it to Rage for Order, because that's like a very unique record. So I think it's a good combination of it. And I like it. And over the years, the album's really grown on me to where I really enjoy it, and I feel that, Queensryche has this 4-album stretch that not a lot of bands have had, with Rage for Order into Mindcrime into Empire into Promised Land. So I like it, and I thought it was really interesting going up against a band like Symphony X. And by the way, anytime you want to bring up comments, just bring up anything and we'll riff on it, because definitely want to bring the fans into this. But
all right, so Adam Rishog will say, "This is no contest. Symphony X all the way." Honestly, not a huge Queensryche fan besides Mindcrime.
Okay, all right.
I can understand that. Travis Snyder says, "Promised Land for sure. Bridge is one of my favorite QR songs." It's hilarious. I didn't realize we weren't going to do the song by song thing, but it makes sense. I'll just go a quick couple notes. So I actually had that as my least favorite song on here.
Wow. Okay.
I thought it was kind of sappy-ish and
hokey.
It's like folksy Queensryche. Like, I think there's a difference between like acoustic and folksy.
Okay. Man, look at the JG3 made it in for the beginning. All right, there we go.
Rage for Order is another banger. Yeah, we can't argue that.
Yeah. Look, Giovanni Palaia. All right, so he says, "Wow, that's tough. The Odyssey, the title track, is one of my all-time favorites, but Promised Land is the ultimate headphone album. Promised Land for the win." That is an awesome take, Giovanni. That is a very good point. There is a lot of soundscapes on the Promised Land record. And I think that's one of the reasons why it grew on me, because there's a lot of really cool stuff going on that you don't really hear, unless you're really kind of digging into it at a good volume, with some nice headphones on. So, all right, so we got Promised Land, and don't forget to take the comments off the screen. And then we got the Odyssey, Symphony X, which I know is one of your favorite bands. And it's a band that I just listened to. So for any of you guys that are into Symphony X, if you look up a podcast called Discography Discussion, Brian and I mentioned it on our last episode that we had just recorded it. Well, it's now out. So if you look up Discography Discussion, Brian and I went through the entire Symphony X discography. And it is available to download and everything. It's a great show. There's like 230 episodes. They do pretty much any band you can think of. So this is a very recent band for me, and you hit it on the head. That what we said during the show, Brian, was the discography episode was that the quality kind of, it starts with the first record and then goes up. It continues to get better. Production continues to get better, and the Odyssey is kind of like right before it really gets into like the actual like major label sounding records that they did. And I think it's a great record. This is where I think they started kind of streamlining the riffs a little bit. They were a little bit more direct. I mean, that second song, Wicked, is kind of like, okay, these guys were listening to a little bit of Pantera. So, we got a newbie again, Brian. John Masaglia. He says, "Queensryche all the way. My Global Mind is the best song on that album." John, thank you very much for tuning in, man. Appreciate you checking out the show. Yes.
You're talking about our podcast. There's our buddy, Joe.
There's Joseph Wren, man.
Yeah,
that's Joe from Discography Discussion. All right.
And Discography Discussions. Symphony X, hell yeah.
There we go. So, so I think, it's weird for me because I think to determine like who I'm going to go with Queensryche for this one, just because I am a big Queensryche fan, and I think I like that as a Queensryche record, it's a little different. Whereas the Symphony X record, while it's excellent, it's kind of just it's more of the same. It's like I think we called them like the AC/DC of symphonic metal when we did that episode. You know what you're going to get when you buy a Symphony X record. They're not going to go venturing off into like some weird bard type ballads or some medieval shit or something like that. They're not going to be doing jazz, or you're going to get Michael Romeo doing his neoclassical thing. So
I think it's a good point, because like you can find other really good Symphony X albums that are a little bit similar to this, but there's no other Queensryche albums that sound like this. And honestly, this is probably their last good one. JG3 is an interesting point here, and I want to get your take on this. I also know people love crapping on past Promised Land, Queensryche, but I actually really like the album American Soldier by them. I actually did like that too. I thought that was a decent album for what it was, and I thought the cause and just the whole message and everything behind that was really cool. It's definitely was not like the Queensryche that we know and grew up with and we're used to, but I actually did think that was a decent album. But man, everything else since then, until they got the new singer in, the Tribe and some of those other things, man, those were just, I don't know about for you, but those were pretty rough for me.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny that it brings up American Soldier because, he says, I thought they were on the right track, and then they released Dedicated to Chaos and FU, Frequency Unknown. It's funny you mentioned American Soldier because in listening back to Promised Land, I actually had a note. I wanted to mention American Soldier as well. My note goes. No, it was a great cause. I love the idea behind it, but the album was shit. Anything after Promised Land up until Todd La Torre came in was just terrible. There's literally, I think it was Tribe. The very last song on Tribe sounded like old school Queensryche, and that was it. I mean, even Operation Mindcrime 2 was just trying way too hard.
Yeah, I was not a fan of mine. The thing about Universal Soldier, I think, do that as an EP. Maybe just do 5 songs, just for the way and what they were trying to do with it. I think you would have, appreciated it a little more. Well, you said you appreciate it, but I thought musically it was okay. It's nothing like, but it also, I didn't think was as goofy and funky and whatever out there as some of these other ones they were just trying to do, or just sounding like they just showed up and said, oh, let's just try to write songs. And it just didn't really work.
You know what, dude? Like we're talking about Queensryche and Symphony X and stuff, and I'm thinking back. We talked like a few episodes ago about like doing some deep dives or discussions into bands that influenced Dream Theater. We should do that, man. I was like, as we're talking, I'm thinking, you know what? We should do that. And I'm thinking of Queensryche. We should do like a deep dive into, this is low hanging fruit, but we should do a deep dive into Operation Mindcrime.
Would you be all about that, man? Yeah, I was lucky enough to see that tour actually.
Oh, you bastard!
No, they didn't play the whole song. They didn't play the whole song. I think it was a short set. They only played 2 songs off of that, but I did get to see that. I was also thinking too that the last time I saw Queensryche with Tate was, were you at the CSU for that show for the Promised Land?
I never saw them with Tate.
Okay, so I'm trying to remember. I think Typo Negative opened. I was going to look it up, but man, I'm pretty sure that was the last big, fairly decent sized arena that they played, in this area, because, at that point they were already kind of just, fading out of popularity.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned Typo Negative because I actually have a note about them too, right next to my American Soldier note. And it also goes.
Wait a minute, this confirms I'm actually not insane. Typo did open. Yes.
All right. Well, so what do you say? You want to do that on the next episode? Do a Mindcrime deep dive?
Actually, you know what? Cale McLeish has a wonderful idea, and as soon as I read this, I'm going to kick him off the show. I'll do you one that will drive you mad. Do Mindcrime 2 instead.
Oh, look, Cale.
Yes, let's do the original Operation Mindcrime. Let's do a deep dive, and yeah, man, is that
okay?
Hard. How are we going to categorize this? Hard, as far as a hard rock concept album, is that the greatest concept album of all time?
I'm not as well versed in those things as you are, and we'll get to our actual show topic cage match in a minute here, but I'm not as well versed in those things as you are, and I might be a little biased because the 2 most influential records of my entire life are Van Halen 1984 and Metallica and Justice for All, but number 3, which is where it comes into, I wouldn't say it's influential, but it's like definitely my top favorites. The very next record, if I had to pick a number 3, would be Operation Mindcrime. So I have a really personal connection to the album. So for me, I would say yes. If nothing else, I would say that it's a perfect album. I have been listening to that since it came out in 1988, and I've yet to find anything I'm like, I would change that. There's that one note. Like, nope. It's just perfection all the way around, man.
It's one of those where as soon as one song ends, you're like blown, but you're like, I can't wait to get to the next song.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Is this is actually something Aiken wanted to debate this with me, I think, at one point. No way. King Diamond has a much better, and Wasp, the Crimson Idol. That's our buddy Chris Aiken's like one of his all-time.
Gibson, really. King Diamond has a bunch better, and Wasp. I tried listening to the Crimson Idol. Not for me.
Yeah, I told him I was going to go back and listen to that and then get into a debate with. I'll probably lose a debate against him anyway. I'm not good at debating. Hey, this is neat. Yours isn't.
Yeah. Oh, look, all right, Joseph Friend doing a tease. We have Van Halen on the calendar this summer on discography discussion. Be prepared. I'll give you one guess who's co-hosting on that one.
Me. Oh, no, it's not me. Okay,
Wow.
second guess.
A 50-50 chance that you got it wrong. So, all right, man. Why don't we jump into tonight's topic? That was very cool doing like a mini cage match, dude. That was fun. So, as I said, we are going to do our fourth cage match. This is Awake versus 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence. And this was a bitch for me. I don't know where you stand on it, but I originally started out, I had one record winning 8-3, and it ended up, I think, being, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, ended up being 7-4, but I got it down to 6-5, and it waffled a lot. Kale McLeish asked us earlier, like, how we're going to balance this out. So what we did is, in order to get it down to an equivalent track listing, we took out Overture completely because it's, the symphonic part at the beginning of the 6 Degrees Suite. And then it was 12-11. So what we did is we combined War Inside My Head with The Test That Stumped Them All. So that we basically considered as one piece of music. And then we got it to 11 versus 11. So without further ado, I am going to go first. And I think I'm going to surprise everybody. This is The Glass Prison versus 6 O'Clock. And I think a lot of people, everybody pretty much thinks I'm going to go with Glass Prison. But I am going to not surprise anybody and go with The Glass Prison. I love that song. I love 6 O'Clock, don't get me wrong. But, I mean, The Glass Prison is The Glass Prison. So that's one of those songs that pretty much you could put it up against anything, but basically maybe Trial of Tears, and it would beat everything. So,
Wait, I have to show this JG.
Right.
John's going to have Space Dive Vest somehow wrestling 6 Degrees title track into submission.
I knew as soon as we picked Awake, when that came up in our random number generator, this is how we do that. We literally just do this at random when we pick these records. I knew as soon as I saw Awake, I'm like, I'm gonna catch some serious shit for Space Dive Vest again.
Yeah, you know what? I actually wouldn't. I would not have been shocked if you picked 6 O'Clock here.
Well, I have a note. It says as soon as 6 O'Clock came on, it hurt me to have to vote against it. Oh.
Yeah, this is tough for me. I guess I got to go with Glass Prison.
There we go. So Adam Rishog agrees with me. Robert Reams says it's blasphemous to say that 6 O'Clock is better than The Glass Prison. Travis Snyder, though, he says The Glass Prison is great, but 6 O'Clock for me. And Joseph Wren, Discuss Metal Joe, says, JT, you bastard. 6 O'Clock, killer intro, killer groove.
Yeah, that was harder than I thought, honestly. Like, if you want a song to start out a show with, I probably want 6 O'Clock. I don't know.
Yeah.
Tough.
I mean, it's and that's what happened, because when we do the cage matches, I make a playlist, and I go like, first song, second song, second. So I'm listening to them in back-to-back order so that I can kind of get a feel for it. And man, like, I would be listening to one of these songs and go, oh yeah, this is easy. And then the next one would kick in and be like, oh crap, but I forgot about this one, how much I love it. Like, it was really difficult.
Well, Kale McLeish says 6 O'Clock is great, but Glass Prison trumps it by sheer consumable volume. Yeah, I understand what he's saying on that. As far as like, an epic song on its own, it's definitely way bigger of a song,
Yeah.
So yeah, we both went Glass Prison there.
Okay. All right, so the second track, Blind Faith against Caught in a Web. Who takes it for you?
I actually went Caught in a Web on this one.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, there's a couple on 6 Degrees here that start the album I'm not all that thrilled with, and this is one of them. So yeah, Caught in a Web. I was like kind of like the chorus on that. Kind of got that weird hypnotic synth thing going on too in the beginning, and yeah, I'll take Caught in a Web over Blind Faith.
Okay. This was one of the ones that I waffled on a couple of times. And, you know, overall, like I have in my notes that, Awake for me is there's a certain vibe to the record, and it's a little bit dark, it's a little bit haunting, and it's always stuck with me. I've always loved that about the record. So that being said, like I went back and forth on this one a lot, and I actually landed on Blind Faith. And I think because they're so close, I think what did it for me is that Caught in a Web's a little more straightforward. Blind Faith has a little bit more to it in terms of, its progressive nature, and the hooks are bigger. So after I listened to them both back to back several times in a row, and Blind Faith just kind of stuck with me a little bit more. So for that reason,
So Adam Rishog says, and this is kind of piggybacking on what there's like 3 comments here about the chorus. Blind Faith for Adam Rishog for me on this one. Unbelievable live.
Cool.
Caught in a Web has such an awesome chorus. Yeah, I love the chorus in that song. And we got like 3 comments in here about the chorus.
They feel free.
But
Robert Reams says Caught in a Web is much better in my opinion. Travis Snyder's going for Caught in a Web. He says it's a top 20 Dream Theater song for me, very underrated. Man, see, look at all this. I mean,
we're like split down the middle here on our.
Dude, I told you this is hard. This is a very difficult one. I texted you today. I was like, son of a bitch. Why couldn't this have been like, the self-titled record versus freaking Falling into Infinity?
Well, just the second song has You and I, and looks like almost every other one is different on here. So
yeah, JG3, he's for Blind Faith. Cale McLeish is voting for Caught in a Web. Robert Husted, what's up, man? Good to see you, buddy. He says Caught in a Web.
Course is addicting. There we go.
Yeah.
JG3 is. I always like that word, earworm.
That's a good term. And then JG3, he's going for Blind Faith. Man. So yeah, I mean, so many of these, like there's not a lot of easy debates in this one, at least for me. That being said, let's move on to the third track, which would be Misunderstood versus Innocence Faded. This was one of the easier ones for me, and I definitely went with Innocence Faded. It's, Misunderstood's a great song. I really, really like it, but Innocence Faded is like a standout Dream Theater song. Whereas Misunderstood is great. You're like, yeah, it's a good song. Like Innocence Faded is kind of like one of those songs. It's almost like a tentpole Dream Theater song. They played it at Score. Hey, Adam Rishog, I was at Score. Don't know if you know that. I just gotta pick on it for that one. But yeah, it's just one of those songs that it just comes on, and you just. The melody's right there right off the bat, and it's like peanut butter on the roof of your mouth. And we've talked before about how the vocal is just incredible. It just got melody and feel for days. And Misunderstood is really cool. And, obviously, it's got that really wonky backwards guitar solo. So it's got some of the really strange stuff that I really, really like, when the band does. And it's a great song. But if you're going to put one or the other on, I'm definitely going to go Innocence Faded all the time.
Innocence Faded, so easy, so catchy, says Gibson Les Paul. And Cale makes a good point here. He says, I'm going with the one that leaves me with a smile. Yeah, it leaves you with a smile. You just get like this happy, bouncy feeling, like you said, when you hear that opening melody on that one.
Yep.
And that's a no-brainer. Plus, I'm on record as this is my favorite song on this album by far. So I don't know, unless this was going to go up against... I don't know. As much as I do love and have a new appreciation for, I'm not really sure exactly what all. The great debate might have, if it was up against that might have. But yeah, otherwise, Innocence Faded was going to win against anything on here.
Okay. I mean, do you like Misunderstood as a song, or is that kind of like a downer to you? Or
I think it's kind of a downer. Like Blind Faith and Misunderstood are like, remember how I said this album, like the second time, third time I listened to it, a lot of it really kind of got into me and spoke to me, including the title track. But those two there just kind of never did a lot for me. I don't know.
Okay. Daniel Wilson, good to see you, man. He makes a good point. He says, "Innocence is awesome, good crowd song, whereas Misunderstood is for the true fans." Yeah, I would go along with that. I think that's an excellent way to phrase it. I use the term tentpole, and I just think it's one of those songs that, when you think about the Awake record, you're thinking about Innocence Faded as one of those high moments, especially, considering it's, pretty much a very dark record with the exception of this song and maybe, like Silent Man. Everything else has got this weird, just, it's, like I said, haunting, I think is a good way to describe it. So moving on to track 4 versus track 4, at least the way that we counted, we have The Great Debate versus Erotomania. Who takes it for you, Brian?
Oh, this isn't even close. This is the
Yeah.
Great Debate. I love this song, man. I love all the drums, all the guitars, all the samples. Just the big, giant, epic, thundering, metal. Just all the cool things that you like in metal. All those sound bites are just all awesome. I love when those come in over heavy guitar and awesome drumming and Portnoy's doing there. Erotomania, we talked before. I guess I like it a little more than I used to. It's decent. It's an okay DT instrumental. But come on, let's not even clown around here.
Yeah. Look at Gibson Les Paul. Bring that up. Erotomania, aka the best Dream Theater instrumental, you're incorrect there, takes it. I have it 4-0 to start the fight off. Gibson, man, I love you, but man, you just can't. Erotomania is awesome, and man, Adam Rishog says it. Great Debate, one of the most underrated songs in Dream Theater's entire catalog. Yeah, I completely agree. Oh, there's a vote for Erotomania. Travis Snyder, he's going Erotomania.
Yeah, here we go again. We're like split down the middle.
Yeah, well, no, I think it's more on the side of the Great Debate. And those would be the people that are correct, and whoever votes Erotomania is wrong.
Right.
No, but seriously, I was thinking about this because I'm completely on board with you in terms of the Great Debate. It's definitely in my top 5-10 Dream Theater songs. I absolutely love everything about this song. You're totally right. Like the sound bites, it's just so cool. Like having like the little blips of news clips and all these different things in there. And Portnoy's drumming on this song is just out of this world. I mean, it's all over the place. It's so cool. And I did have an interesting thought, though, because Erotomania is a very popular song. I mean, that's huge with Dream Theater fans. And I wonder, like, how this would have turned out if Erotomania ended up against a lot of other songs. Because I really think that Erotomania would beat out a lot of the Dream Theater catalog.
Really?
What do you think?
I don't. I mean, you're saying. Well, give me some context here. Like, what's something else you think it would? Something that would surprise me that you think it would beat out.
Oh my God! I mean, it would beat out stuff. I mean, it would beat out.
Spot here.
I mean, it would beat things out on this record. You know what I mean? Like there's stuff. Yeah, there's stuff on this album that it would beat out. I mean, Erotomania is. I mean, it's not my favorite. It's not my favorite.
It's like a big giant groovy jam. I don't know. I mean, I like it. I just. You think it's going to beat out some of these like insane compositions off of 6 Degrees? Like,
I think it could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
mean.
Yeah, I don't know. There definitely is a lot more love for this Erotomania, I guess, than I even realized.
Oh, dude, it's huge. I mean, JG3, he says, I guess I always envision Erotomania as part of Voices. I rarely listen to them individually. So, yeah, I mean, I could totally see that. I mean, for the sake of this discussion. And honestly, Jay, being honest, even if they were combined, if it was Erotomania with Voices, I would still pick The Great Debate.
Adam Rishog is completely out of his mind on this one.
Erotomania is better than Illumination Theory. Explain how he's out of his mind.
I'm going to get rid of you first before I do that. Ladies and gentlemen, I have assumed control.
No, I can't wait to be out of Facebook.
I can't do that one because there's like 4 minutes of Illumination Theory I like, and the rest I'm kind of like, eh.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, there is a lot more love for Erotomania in here than I kind of thought, but man, the great debate. It's the great debate, man. JG3 got him. Yeah, I mean, the great debate is just absolutely kick ass. But again, I don't think there's a lot of other songs that would beat Erotomania, regardless of the fact that it's an instrumental. It's a Dream Theater classic. So
yeah, I'm not sure I still agree with you on that. I mean,
well,
I agree with you that people love it, but I don't know that it would beat. So you're saying it would beat like 50% of the songs it was up against at least? Is that what you're
oh yeah,
concluding?
dude.
Really?
If go look up any live version of Erotomania, and as soon as that keyboard comes in, like bow down, the whole place goes bonkers.
Yeah.
I mean, the fans love Awake, man. It's a big record, and this is one of the reasons why. Look at this. Gibson what?
Hold on, let me pull this up. Travis Snyder. I was always under the impression that Erotomania was a well-loved song by the old school fans. Well, you're right on that.
Yeah, he's right. Yeah. Look at this. Robert Husted. Adam is correct. Yes. Yes, he is. And then there's Gibson. Erotomania beats Octavarium and Tuscany. And no, I'm not trolling. Yes, you are.
I want to ban somebody again.
Man, you are high, Gibson.
Yeah, let's not delve into complete silliness here because that's I don't know how else to describe that.
Man. Whew. Damn. All right, well, so we picked the great debate, but apparently what we thought would not be a great debate turned out to be a great debate.
Yeah.
So there we go. It's aptly titled. All right, so moving on to number 5, we have Disappear versus Voices. And this was one of the rare easy ones in this battle, and I definitely went with Voices. Disappear is weird, and I like it, but Voices, again, it's a classic. You know, Voices is just one of those Dream Theater classics. And, I mean, if you've been at one of the shows where you get, you know, the suite all together with Erotomania and Voices and the Silent Man, you know, Mind Beside Itself, you know that it kicks ass. And it's always a welcome addition to the set list. So Voices is, you know, again, it's got some of that weirdness in there that I like. And it's got some crazy James vocals. I mean, Gibson Les Paul, you know, he as much as he's an Awake fanboy tonight, he says Voices isn't great, but it's more than enough to bury Disappear. Sean Jovi says Voices all the way. One of the best Labrie vocal performances ever. Yes, without a doubt. He could, that scream that oh man. And Robert Reams, wow, okay. Disappear, another song I'm just not a fan of. So yeah, this one seems to be a little bit one-sided. So where did you fall? What side of the fence did you fall?
You know, I always forget about this Disappear song. I'm like, every time I hear, like, I rarely ever go back. You know, I skipped over this one every time whenever I play this album, really, because I'm just like, I forget the song even exists. Like, did they ever even play this song live before?
I've seen it live.
Oh, have you? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It does nothing for me. They're both really weird songs. I like Voices. I like the opening bass lines. It's got something that's kind of throughout that album is, you know, there's that Hammond, you know, Deep Purplish organ type thing and the guitar crunching and stuff. And there's like that saloon piano kind of sound on it. I think I was looking at some of my old notes. I wasn't a fan of the original piano sound on it because it kind of sounded more like a old school upright, but yeah, I don't know. You know, it's got that Beatlesy thing going on at the end and whatever. You know, it kind of devolves into that sort of Beatlesy giant, you know, harmonies and all that kind of stuff. This cool stuff going on there. So yeah, I could see how that would definitely be cool if you're going to get all 3 of these in a row. I think that makes all of the songs stand out even more. I think if you're doing them in that context. I don't know if you agree on that or not, but
look, no, I completely agree with that. Look at Kale with his puns. He says, do we actually even need to voice this opinion? Voices makes the end of 6 Degrees first disc disappear into irrelevance. Man. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I think that the reason that, you know, you tend to forget about Disappear is because once you've gone through the record, you get through Great Debate and you're like, man, oh man, love it or hate it, that's a massive song to take in. And then what's coming next is the 6 Degrees Suite. So you're thinking monstrous Great Debate, oh my God, that huge mini concept record, and Disappear kind of falls in the middle. And it's just like, it's an aptly titled song, to use that word again. It does disappear.
So JG3 says they played it live twice. One time it was recorded for Live at Budokan. The other time was at a random show. I don't know if that's totally accurate, but I'll assume it is.
I think it was more than that, Jay, because I saw it at one point. There was a real deep cut type of thing that they pulled out. I forget what. I think it might have been on the 6 Degrees tour. I don't, but I know for a fact that I've seen it live because I've seen the entire first disc live. So I've seen the whole 6 Degrees, the entire both discs live, I should say. But I don't remember what show it was when I saw Disappear. So that was an easy one, and now we have skipped Overture. And we are moving on to About to Crash versus The Silent Man. So, Brian, you are up.
Yeah, I thought this one was pretty easy. I mean, I know people have a special place in their part for Silent Man, but About to Crash, man, that's like it feels like an epic slab of like almost 70s, 80s rock, that I love the guitar riff in there, and the piano is awesome. And I don't know. The musicianship on that song is just, after you've already had these incredible songs playing wise, and then you get to the overture, and then you start out with this, and the piano on it is just beautiful. Every little note in there. I didn't think this was much of a contest. I mean, Silent Man is a cool little fun sing along type song. I don't want to say little, but I just don't think there's any comparison. The scope of this, song About to Crash is just massive compared to Silent Man.
Sure. For that reason, that's why I picked the Silent Man.
Speaking of the Silent Man, I'm going to make you the Silent Man. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, John has left the podcast. All right, he's back.
You love doing that, don't you?
I do. It's fun.
Man. So, now this is a personal decision, I will admit, because the Silent Man is my favorite Dream Theater ballad, and I go back to it all the time. So this is literally just a personal decision.
Wait, hold on 1 second. Kale, he's trying to be funny here. About to Crash, what a great intro into Ministry of Lost Soul. You're referencing the tour, the last tour, the tour that there's going on. I don't know if they're still doing that, but yeah, that's not funny, Kale. All right, sorry, John, go ahead.
Look, Gibson Les Paul agrees, man. But Gibson Les Paul is just he's gonna have an 11-0 shutout. I guarantee it. So, I can totally understand why people would pick About to Crash. Robert Husted's on my side. He says both of the songs go hard, but Silent Man for me. Yeah, this is probably just a personal thing for me because I love the Silent Man so much. Because About to Crash is great. You get this monstrous, piece of music in Overture, and you're like, okay, what the hell is this? What are they going to do from here? And then, About to Crash comes in, and it's catchy, and it's upbeat, and everything. You're like, oh, wow, okay. So it's very, very cool. Very, very cool. So, look, JG3, he's trying to contradict me. He says, Disappear has notably, and this is in quotes, only been played twice in Dream Theater's history, appearing on the A Sort of Homecoming Fan Club CD and Live at Budokan album, respectively. Yeah, well, you know what? You could take your quotes and shove them. I'm telling you, I saw the damn song live. There, see? Cale McLeish says it. Once was at Madison Square Garden Theater in 2004. I was there. I told the story about how I could have played drums with Mike Portnoy at that show on my solo episode when Brian couldn't make it. So I was there, Jay. So up your butt. I told you I saw it. I told you so. There.
But they still have only played it twice.
Well, still, I was there for one of them.
No one was arguing that.
Now, I think Jay was trying to say that I didn't see it live. I know what he was trying to do. He wouldn't keep pushing the point otherwise. I love you, Jay. I'm just joking with you, man. But I was at that show. So, all right. So, yeah, About to Crash, Silent Man. Most people are taking About to Crash, but I'm going Silent Man. Sorry. All right. Now we have our combo song. So we are moving into War Inside My Head, combined with the test that stumped them all, going up against the behemoth that is the Mirror. So, yeah, I know what I chose.
Don't even pretend.
I took the Mirror. But this was closer than I thought it would have been.
Stop.
I went back and forth on this a lot.
No, you
because
didn't.
I definitely did. Because if you just take War Inside My Head or the test that stumped them all individually, you're basically saying, okay, well, here's like a 3-minute song versus like a 7-minute song, and it's a little more difficult. But Joseph Wren, the Mirror, it's the only way to be right. But when you combine them, it gets a little more difficult. Adam Rishog, he says, Mirror here for sure. I wish Dream Theater would make more songs that sound like this. Look at that. Oh, Gibson Les Paul. The shutout has been broken. The no-hitter has been broken up. He says, surprise, surprise, I'm taking War Inside My Head, test that stumped them all.
Oh, there goes the perfect game and everything all in one swoop.
There it goes. But, yeah, I mean, this really was way more difficult than I would have thought, because normally when I think of the Mirror, you just think of ugh, you're like, oh, yeah. I mean, come on. Puppies on Acid, whatever. Like, you know, it's easy. But then when I combined the two songs from 6 Degrees, I was like, oh, wait a minute. Which happened to me a lot on this. Like when I would listen to them back to back, as I said, I was like, yeah, wait a minute. Maybe this isn't as simple as I thought it would be. But yeah, I did end up going with the Mirror. What about you?
Oh, this was no brainer. I got War Inside My Head, tested, stumped them all.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, I don't know. The Mirror, I mean, I go back and forth. I don't understand why people think they act like they've never heard this like heavy riff before or something. I mean, it's not something Dream Theater does all the time, that's for sure. But I mean, I love like the War Inside My Head. The da, 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 da. I don't know. It almost sounds like Peter and the Wolf or something. It's very classical symphonic, like those notes with like the brass and stuff, or fake brass or whatever it is, and like the strings and stuff. It's just so cool. And then, I mean, Test to Stump Them All, you know, the guitar solo and the vocal. I mean, it's so like you're just gonna fall off the roller coaster at any time, man. You're just going 300 miles an hour, then you get at the top, you go down, you go. I mean, it's just like, it's just so cool musically, like just every little note that's played in that Test That Stumped Them All, man. The more I hear it, you know, that was one of the songs for sure. Going back and re-listening to 6 Degrees, where I was like, I remember the first time I heard that, I was like, yeah, this is, and then the more I hear it, I'm like, oh my God, this is just absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that one was pretty easy for me.
It was very difficult for me. And what's going to be more difficult is officially banning JG3 from the show, because he says, you know, John, if you drummed with Mike Portnoy at that show, you would have ended up on a Dream Theater record. And then Kale, thank you for getting my back. Kale says, Jay, why you got to be that guy?
Jay also says, I love the smell of napalm showers in the morning.
Right.
I think it's just napalm, but that's an Apocalypse Now.
No, napalm showers show the cowards. Dude, Jay, why did you have to say that? Because now I'm realizing, like, holy crap, that situation's even worse. I've been feeling horrible about that for 18 years, and now you just made it worse.
This is interesting. Dominic Giovanni says the Mirror spawned the Gojira guitar rake.
What's the Gojira guitar rake? Is it going from top to bottom, like the? Is that it?
Yeah, they have a very staccato, chunky rhythmic way of playing on some of their stuff. I guess I can understand what he's saying. I love that band. I can kind of see that a little bit.
Dude, Daniel Wilson has a really good point. He says the Mirror has that DT classic sound, but War and Test are excellent examples of the modern sound that Dream Theater has become. Yeah. God damn it, Jay. He says, it's okay. Shed a trial of tears, John. Oh, my Lord. Kale. All right, thank you, Kale. Kale says, yeah, it's that little squeal right before the ugh. All right. So I was right, that little, okay. Oh, boy. Man, now I'm going to be, Jay, damn it, you popped my balloon. I'm all bummed out. So, all right, so moving on to what I thought was one of the few easy choices on this record. We have Goodnight Kiss versus Lie. What do you got?
Oh, you know me. I got Goodnight Kiss all the way on this one. I'm on record as not being that big of a fan of Mirror or Lie, either one. So again, I don't know, man. It's such a beautiful vocal melody from Labrie on Goodnight Kiss, and like the piano is just I don't know. I don't know if he's ever sang I'm trying to think of the word. Pretty sounds kind of weird, I guess.
No, but it is applicable here.
Yeah. I mean, it's just I don't know. It's borderline feminine without like, offending anyone here. It's okay to be feminine. It's okay to be masculine. It doesn't really matter. But I don't know. It's just a beautiful, very pretty vocal, just subdued on top of this awesome piano thing that Jordan's doing. Like, I don't know, man. I just think it's one of those songs that the first time I heard it, I flat out, I think, thought it was corny. And then again, going back and listening to it again and again, man, I just think it's awesome.
Okay. You are not wrong at all in your assessment of Goodnight Kiss.
JG3, I'm going to interrupt you here. I'm a huge fan of Labrie's vocals and John's solo. Yeah, John's solo is great on this too. When isn't it? I mean,
yeah, yeah, true. Remember that time that John Petrucci played a crappy guitar
yeah.
solo?
Hey, could you change a few notes there, John? Could you redo that?
Exactly. Yeah, JG3, nothing but love, John. I know, buddy. But you too, bro. I got to play along with it. Just, man, breaks my heart. Yeah, you are not wrong in anything you say about Goodnight Kiss. It is definitely beautiful, and I come back to this one a lot. And your assessment on the vocal is spot on. It's like, and it's hard to say feminine, but it does have that feminine quality, but still with like power to it, to where it's not totally kind of devoid of any kind of balls, I would say. It's almost like a power falsetto, I guess you could say, in parts. It's awesome. But I went with Lie because Lie just always stands out to me because that song's just destructive. And I always picture Lie combined with the Mirror. And so that's just enormous to me. But I will say, I think that this one could really depend on somebody's mood. Like if you're trying to rate stuff and you pulled these two songs up back to back, if you're kind of in a more mellow mood on that particular day, like, yeah, I'm kind of chill, like you probably lean towards Goodnight Kiss. And then if you're like, man, I'm kind of fired up, you're going to go with Lie. So I think that might have something to do with it, but Lie is just a standout for me.
If you're trying to pull someone who's into rock and progressive or heavier music, and you're going between these two, obviously you're not going to pick Goodnight Kiss, I don't think.
Yeah.
Right. On this one.
Yeah. Well, I think for me it was, when I heard Awake the first time, I had kind of like back to backed it, with images and words when I discovered the band. And, there were heavy parts prior to the Mirror and Lie on Awake, but, when the Mirror kicks in with that's just that grinding, and then Lie comes on. I'm like, okay, this is like straight metal. And I hadn't heard that yet. And it was really cool. It added a layer to the band for me. So I think that's why those two songs always stand out. Sean Jovi, yeah, good point. It says Goodnight Kiss is beautiful and goes from tender to wild in a cool way. Yeah, that's,
Sean Jovi with the runaway comment of the day here.
Yeah. Adam Rishog says, Goodnight Kiss all the way here. James has never sounded better.
Okay, I admit I'm surprised. I thought that Lie was going to absolutely annihilate this song.
Did too.
Based on what was going on with the Mirror and everything else before. Are you surprised by this? This like floors me.
I am, in a way. But here, look, right back to back. Adam and Kale. Kale says, Lie is the musical equivalent of bitch slapping someone. So, I am surprised, but again, dude, I had such a hard time with this cage match because I went back and forth on a few of these. Like I flipped my votes like 3 times. And when I first went through it and I just, in my head, I ranked it, it was like 8-3 in favor of one record. And then when I started listening, I had it 6-5 in favor of another. And then it went back to finally, where I ended up. But it was, I was back and forth on a lot of it because these records are very equivalent. So, and fans love them. Speaking of songs that fans love, we have up next Solitary Shell versus Lifting Shadows Off a Dream. And I went with Solitary Shell. And this one is really on the fence-ish for me. My note says maybe this one can change based on my mood, but when I listened back to them back to back, I went, oh yeah, Solitary Shell. This is one of the ones where I initially chose Lifting Shadows Off a Dream, but then when I heard Solitary Shell, I was like, and I think it's the chorus, solely because of the chorus. So I was teetering on this one a lot, but I did end up with Solitary Shell, and that's the one thing that I will say that I think, the production is stronger on 6 Degrees, and the melodies are stronger on 6 Degrees, which would make sense considering, it's their 6th record compared to their 3rd. But Awake obviously has that awesome vibe to it. So that's what, the Awake record has going for it.
Wow,
So,
Robert Reams, Lifting Shadows Off a Dream is a top 5 to 10 Dream Theater song for me. That's pretty high rarefied air there to put that song in 5 to 10. That's cool.
Yeah. It says Easy Win, James's vocals.
Sorry.
Crush it. No, you're good. It's good. Yeah, Sean Jovi says could go either way, and JG3 says 6 Degrees has a fantastic mix, and that's one thing that really stands out when you go back to back with these, is I'm a big fan of the production on Awake. I think it's really, we've used the term earlier, atmospheric, but I think that applies to the Awake mix. But yeah, when you put them back to back, 6 Degrees sounds pretty monstrous. It might be. I think I've said this before, but 6 Degrees and Distance Over Time are my favorite production quality.
Yeah, Kale says, yeah, I'll go Solitary Shell. If I said that JR's lead at the start of this one reminded me of Mario Kart, would you agree? Well, the problem with that is this is a Dennis DeYoung Styx riff, but that's 20 years before Mario Kart, I guess. Well, maybe not 20, more like 12 or something.
So are you implying that Mario Kart ripped off Styx?
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that. Yeah, you know what, dude? I think this is literally the hardest one on the whole thing here. This is really
okay.
This is really, really tough. I really like Lifting Shadows Off a Dream. Probably my second favorite song on Awake.
Wow. Okay.
But you mentioned something about the production, and this, I believe, the acoustic guitar on this Solitary Shell is the best that their acoustic guitar sounded to date for the band. So you listen to how the acoustic sounds on Awake, on stuff like Silent Man, it's just night and day. It's just so much bigger and fatter and brighter, and it's probably just comes with a bigger budget and better production techniques and just learning how to do this stuff. But that's one of the hardest things there is to get an acoustic guitar to really, really sound good like it's supposed to. So I'm going to go with Solitary Shell, just barely.
Okay.
I think if we had the production, to kind of piggyback your point, if we had the production of Lifting Shadows Off of a Dream that we have on 6 Degrees, it may win out. I don't know. I think it's close anyway, but it might beat it out.
Okay. Yeah, I would agree that this was a close one. Again, for me, I really think that the chorus in Solitary Shell is what kind of put it over the top for me. So, yeah, I can't really argue with anybody, JG3, a bigger budget couldn't save DT12's mix. Yeah, well, Mike Mangini forgot to turn the snare on for that whole record, but who's counting? So, yeah, we'll get to that in our deep dive whenever we land on that one. But all right, we've got 2 more battles left. The second to last is About to Crash Reprise versus Scarred. And I have Scarred. This is another one, just like the previous battle, that I went back and forth on a lot because, like you said, you tend to forget about Disappear. I tend to forget about Scarred a lot, even though I've actually performed part of this song live, just me and the bass player. So,
nice.
Yeah, it was tiny story, but it was with my Lima cover band, and we had a fill-in bass player one night. This a couple of years ago, a big show we were doing, and an old theater. And the bass player is a huge Dream Theater guy. And all of a sudden, like I'm doing a stage band right here, boom, da-doom, da-doom, da-da-da-da, boom, da-doom, da-doom, and I started singing it. And my drummer goes, "What the hell is this?" I'm like, "Just let it go. Let's see how far we can get." And I wouldn't tell him it was Dream Theater because he would have been like, no, it's going to go out for 15 minutes. And I got through, I think, 2 verses maybe. It was like a good 3-4 minutes or something. It was like, I'm like, holy crap, I got to play Scarred live. So, so that was kind of a funny story there. But I have Scarred. And again, this is one I went back and forth on a lot. And man, About to Crash has such a great riff to it. And that's why initially I was like, this is a landslide, About to Crash all the way, like Reprise. But then again, I listened to him back to back, and I was like, damn. The only thing that I would say about Scarred, though, is that it's a long song, and it's one of the long songs that actually kind of feels a little bit long. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't go to too many really crazy prog places to take your mind off the fact that you're listening to a long song. I don't think I even need to ask what Kale would vote. I was waiting for this one because Kale always brings up Scarred, and there he is. Scarred, it was the most perfect album. Dream Theater, why did you ruin Awake and not let this close? There it is. I was waiting for that. I mean, everybody is. I mean, Adam Rishog, I think, is the only one who's voting for About to Crash Reprise right now. He says, this is a tough one for me. I love Scarred, another one that sounds incredible live, but that ghost intro in About to Crash Reprise is absolutely killer. It gives me major Slash, Guns N' Roses vibes. Absolutely love it. Giovanni Pelaia is voting for Scarred. Robert Reams actually voted for About to Crash. But, man. It's weird. Like, yeah, you're right. Like, this is way more split down the middle than I thought it would be. There you go. Yeah, Robert Reams. Don't listen to Scarred much. Doesn't do a ton for me. About to Crash Reprise for the win on that one. What did you pick?
So probably a little closer than I thought it was going to be originally, but I've got About to Crash the Reprise.
Okay.
There's something about that guitar riff that, when we did the deep dive on this, like, I'm trying to think of like growing up, like summertime albums, like, the first 5150, the first Hagar band, that was just a summer, you just crank down the windows and crank it up. And then when I hear that guitar riff that's going on in About to Crash, I'm just like, you just got the top down or whatever. And not that I ever had a convertible, but you got the windows down and you're going, but awesome. You know what I mean? Or I'm on my bike, my 10 speed. And,
I'm on my Schwinn.
I literally had a 10 speed that I had like these, I'm trying to think if they were like bungee cables to hold this giant boombox on. So it's like swinging, in the middle bar there as I'm like, cruising around at like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. I'm thinking I'm all cool at like 15 with my boombox going, blasting rap and stuff like that,
neighborhood nuisance, Brian Hendrickson.
Yeah, I hit like one bump and then like the whole thing goes flying off and then the speakers keep back and I'm like, son of a, I'm like totally mad stuff. But yeah, you know what, Scarred, you brought up a good point, and I was going back to my notes to see what I had on originally. I put that it was not very proggy, which goes to your point of, if they get a long song and you don't have a lot of prog elements in it, then I don't know. I put some stuff in there about it was kind of almost like a lynch mob feel at one point for the vocals.
Yeah.
And there's some cool organ parts and stuff. But yeah, I got to go with just that guitar riff and About to Crash for sure.
Yep. All right. So we're opposite on that one. Well, let's go to the final battle on the record. And I am about to absolutely get shit on like crazy, but that always happens when this song comes up. We have Losing Time Grand Finale versus Space Divest. And I'm not even going to try and joke about it. I chose Space Divest. Sorry.
Thank you for
Love it.
joining us on the show tonight, John. We're looking forward to having you back next week.
Hey, look, man, I did those gorilla farts, and I'll do them again on our upcoming fan hangout. So you got your pound of flesh, or 3 ounces of flesh, I should say. Speaking of 3 ounces of flesh, I have something to talk to your mom about. So how about that? I slid that one in. That's what she said.
Just go.
All right. So, anyways, yeah, Space Divest. I mean, I don't think anybody's surprised that I chose this one. I will say this though: if Losing Time Grand Finale was, if the music portion of it was longer, because like 2 minutes of it is that record scratch thing, the fade out. If it was longer, I think I might have chosen it because it has an awesome closing feel to it. It's bombastic. It's majestic. It just isn't long enough. I wish there was more to it, to that song, because the feel is fantastic. So I think if both songs were of an equivalent length, I think I might have actually gone with, Losing Time.
Well, Sean Jovi breaks out with an interesting point here. Both Space Divest and Losing Time start with some really cool melodies, but I feel could have gone more interesting places after the intro's first verses. That said, I'll take Losing Time by a hair.
There we go. Okay. Yep. Man. Look, Robert Husted. To my surprise, Space Divest is an actual good song, but Losing Time takes it. Yeah, I'm on an island. I mean, for sure. I fully expected that, and again, this is one of those things that as soon as Awake popped up as one of the records that we were gonna do a cage match with, I was like, well, I'm gonna pick Space Divest. Like, here comes the beating. Look at that. Even Adam Rishog said it was difficult. Adam Rishog said it was difficult, and Kale he says this one was harder than I thought. And Kale says 2 of the worst closers of Dream Theater's discography against each other. I'm going with Losing Time because it doesn't piss me off. Yeah, and look, man. Yeah. Look. Okay, well, see, JG3, he's got a good point. He says, not sure how John feels about it, but I really like the live version of Space Divest from the 2014 tour. The guitar solo and changed vocals are great. I completely agree with you, Jay. Brian and I saw that in Chicago. We actually weren't sitting together, but I got two groups of pairs of tickets, and he used one of them, and I used the other. And I knew they were obviously doing part of Awake, for the 20th anniversary of that, and then the 15th anniversary they were doing some of the scene stuff. And I never in a million years thought they would play Space Divest. So when, they get to the song and there's that break and nothing's, and all of a sudden, do 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 do, I was like, oh my God. And even my wife, like, she knows I freak out at shows. I'm that fanboy guy. She's like, why are you going this crazy over the song that's just piano? I was like, dude, you don't understand. Like, I had to real quick tell the story of, like, they said they were never, ever going to play this live. Like, ever, ever, ever. This is like history, Dream Theater history. So, yeah, you're definitely right, dude. I loved it. It was kick ass.
That place went nuts when they started it, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Daniel Wilson, Space Divest seems special as it seems like it's Kevin Moore's goodbye song. Losing Time is an epic conclusion song. So, yeah, I mean, and it's a great way to put it. And, I mean, the band even said that, it is kind of like a farewell to Kevin Moore, and that they actually admitted, like, that if they'd known at the time that he was leaving, that they wouldn't have put it on the record. They weren't really a big fan of it, but they were like, all right, well, he seems kind of detached. Let's put it on the record to, he seems like he's not feeling good or whatever. We'll do him a solid. He brought this completed piece in. Let's put it on the record. And they specifically said that if they'd known he was leaving the band, they probably would have left it off. So, all right, let's go to our final scores, Brian. My final, and again, this doesn't sound close, but this was so much closer than I thought it would be. I have Awake winning by a score of 7-4. what was your final score?
I didn't keep track.
Man,
Let me see. Let me do this real quick.
Look at this. He's got to keep score. So while you're counting, I will do a quick plug.
Right.
Don't forget, guys, that June 25th. It is a Saturday. We have a very special show coming up. So make sure to mark your calendars. It is either going to be at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard or 7 p.m. Eastern Standard. I have to confirm the time. But we are going to be doing a very special episode on Saturday, June 25th. So make sure you guys are here to take part in that. It is going to be very, very cool. We can't announce what we are doing until much closer to that date because of some scheduling stuff that we're working with. But just rest assured it's going to be kick-ass. So put that on your calendars. And, yeah, again, if you're watching on YouTube, click that like button, click that subscribe button so you can get notified every time Brian and I go live. And the next episode will be 2 weeks from tonight, which I believe will be May 5th. So Thursday, May 5th, and we are going to be doing our first off Dream Theater show. We are going to be doing an album deep dive into Queensryche's Operation Mindcrime. So we're going to start getting into bands that influence Dream Theater. So I'm sure we'll do Rush, we'll do Van Halen, we'll do Metallica, get into some really proggy stuff. But our very first one is going to be Operation Mindcrime on Thursday, May 5th. So did you tally your scores?
This is great, JG3. So, how close was it, Brian? JG3. I didn't even keep track.
I mean, how did you not do that?
I don't know. Looks like I only had 3 for Awake. So, wow. Whatever that turns out to be.
8-3 for Awake.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, I mean, that's about what if you'd told me going in, that's probably the best I would have got would have been 7-4,
Okay. I actually had it 6-5 for 6 Degrees at one point. And then it was like 7-4 flip flop, and all kinds of stuff. All right, so Cale McLeish says 6 Degrees, 6, Awake 5. He does prefer Awake though. Gibson Les Paul, on second thought, this was like Tyson versus Spinks, a first round knockout. Awake leaves no doubt, 10-1.
To piggyback that point, did you see there's a video? Somebody got into a fight with Mike Tyson on an airplane.
I just saw that literally like a minute before we went on.
Yeah, so did I. It was on the Fox 8 News. I'm like, I thought it was a joke at first, like they were like play fighting or something.
No, this guy was like doing something. The guy looked like he was drunk or something, but Tyson just leaned over and Tyson messed up the right side of the guy's face.
What's he doing flying like coach? I mean, come on, dude. You couldn't have lost that much of your money.
I don't know, but that's not even the question. The question is, why are you messing with Mike Tyson?
I don't know.
like, I don't care if the guy's 80. He's going to kick your ass.
Yeah, that sounds like a Beastie Boys or a rap song. Like, don't mess with Mike Tyson or something. Yeah.
Look at JG3, the June 25th show. Virtual therapy session with Kevin Moore. Oh, and here, okay, so bring up Cale's comment because this is an interesting one I wanted to ask you about. He said, I'd be in for the Metallica special. Now, what record would you deep dive if we're, because obviously Metallica, really influenced John Petrucci and stuff like that and Portnoy. And I mean, if you were going to do one of the records, which one would you do?
Man, that's tough.
Because I know which one I'd want to do, but I know which one we probably have to do.
See, I think Ride the Lightning is what turned them into. I'd probably want to do Ride the Light. Like Master of Puppets, I'd love to. Seems like too easy. I don't know.
Fucking JG3, man.
JG3,
Lulu.
There are some really good songs on that album, as long as you don't actually have the volume up.
I am the table.
All right. Now, Adam Wishock says Injustice for All. I would be cool with that one. I'd probably be cool with that or Ride the Lightning. I don't know. I mean, I feel like Master's probably been done 8 million times. Of course,
well,
maybe they all have. So, all right. So, what one would you pick?
I never even thought of Ride the Lightning, to be honest, because if I was to do one that I would want to do, it would be Justice. I think
says Deep Dive Saint Anger. Oh, there's an LOL. Never mind.
I sold that record for $8 and change to like an 8-year-old kid. That was so bad. I would love to do Justice, but I think Master of Puppets is like the Metallica record. And, Kale says it like that, Puppets was like the one that, influenced James. I mean, honestly, what we could do? We could leave it up to the listeners, man, the fans. Like, just put it out there, like
Metallica cage match.
Oh my God,
Are
you serious? A Metallica? Oh my God. Well, if we did a cage match between Puppets and Justice,
Naked HD has some great ideas.
See, and you don't even know how to ban people from the chat.
No, I don't.
So it's like that sucks. But yeah.
Well, we went like an hour and 10 minutes without getting that.
I know. Yeah,
JG3. I'm actually a big fan. I want to make sure I don't show the wrong. I'm actually a big fan of their most recent record, Hardwired to Self-Destruct. Okay, well, that makes one of us. All right, moving along.
I like half of it
from Naked HD.
Yeah,
I don't know what
man.
I don't know. My problem with the newest album was like, I feel like there's all this hype about it, and you're like, you want to like it so bad, and you hear it, and you think you like it, but then it's like the more I hear it, I'm like, I don't think I like this that much. I don't know. What are your thoughts on the last one?
I think it's 12 songs, and if you cut it down to like 8 or 9, because there's like that I Am Savage tune is, but there's some kick-ass stuff like Spit Out the Bone. The second time he goes in, when he does the Spit Out the Bone vocal, is like the most James Hetfield thing he's done since And Justice for All. It's like, spit out the bone. I'll never forget, like, I was driving to Lima listening to that record for the first time with Steph, and when he did that, we both looked at each other and went, what the hell, Hetfield? Welcome back, 1988. Like,
yeah, so, I agree with you. I think with a lot of these bands, it's like, dude, you don't need to do 12, 14 songs. You don't even do 10. Like you said, just put out 8 like just killer songs rather than 12 where like 5 of them are kind of okay, or 5 of them are really good, and then you've got like 3 that are kind of okay, and then you got like 4 that are bad. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. I feel like George Lynch does that on all these 8 million albums he does. Like, there's some cool stuff on the KXM stuff and the other projects he's involved in also, but it's like, dude, you don't need to, you don't need a new album, with 7 different bands where there's 14 songs on each one,
Yeah. Yeah, I would say I like the new record. And I will say this, and this is something for you guys in the chat and anybody listening to the audio version. The songs are way better than you think, because there's a guy out there on YouTube, and I forget what his channel is, but he basically dials in like the exact tones of the classic Metallica records, and he's got stuff out there like, what if Master of Puppets was on Ride the Lightning? What if Creeping Death was on Master of Puppets? Stuff like that. And he's got a couple videos of songs from Hardwired, and like, what if this song was on And Justice for All, and like Moth into Flame, and there's I think 1 or 2 more. And he changes it up to where it's like, he makes the drums almost like it was like more of a progressive thing like Lars was doing back at that time. And dude, if you put those songs in that context the way this guy did with all those, it fits. I mean, like, you could not tell. You would put that on And Justice for All and go, yeah, that's from 1988's And Justice for All. I mean, the stuff that Hetfield wrote is that old school when you put it into that type of production and that kind of, I mean, it's creepy how.
Yeah, I've actually seen that. I know what you're talking about. It is actually pretty cool. Yeah. Robert Reams has a point here, and I'll probably end up banning him after this. Death Magnetic was really good.
What's wrong with that? He's not.
Goodbye, John. I'm not going to sit here and have John defend Death Magnetic again. I've heard him do this like 12 times. All right, never mind. Go ahead.
It's not a bad asshole.
It's terrible. It's horrible. There's no melody at all. There's no cool riffs on it at all. It's trying so hard to be something rather than just organically being it.
Dude, All Nightmare Long is a great Metallica song. Not just, I mean, especially
of All Nightmare Long, having you on this podcast.
Yeah. Oh my God, I'm so sorry that I had to show.
I knew that I should have brought that up because you were going to sit there and try to defend a terrible album.
Dude, I mean, especially coming off the back of Sane Anger,
That doesn't that I see that's a that I hate those type of arguments. Well, it's better than Saint Anger.
I'm not
Yeah,
saying
no
that.
kidding.
I'm not saying that.
That's just that's such a low bar. That's
No,
all.
dude, it just makes I thought that Death Magnetic was a good record. I mean, for an older band, it's a cool Metallica record. And especially coming off of the shit that they've been putting out, it's like, okay, they can still write metal songs. Not just this trash, you know?
I didn't
Like-
think there was anything metal at all about it, but
Oh, dude, you're high.
everyone else seems to love this album.
Yeah.
How do I ban everyone and you? I just have my own podcast, or it's just me.
Did you see?
Hello,
you see-
me. It's me again.
Did you see JG3 plus Unforgiven 5 is pretty good too. See, Adam Rishog and I are on the same page. He says, "All Nightmare Long." Thank you, John. I think we're Metallica soulmates. That could be. I mean, so that's the question. Do we do a deep dive into a Metallica record and choose like Puppets or Justice? Or do we do a not a deep dive, excuse me, a cage match?
I said
Justice
cage match.
Cage match of Justice versus Puppets. Wow. Okay. Well, we have to add a song somewhere because because Justice is 9 songs and
All right,
Puppets
wait a
is
minute.
8.
I do actually have to defend you, and I will agree with JG3. Cyanide is actually the one song on Death Magnetic I like. So I do have to give that song.
That's why I
That's
can't
probably
take you
your
seriously.
least
That song's
favorite
not
one.
that good. That song's not
That's why
that
you're-
good.
Yeah, of course, it's your least favorite.
All right, Nick Brayman, he's in. He's in. He says Justice cage match. All right. So Justice versus Master. So see, there's like bonus tracks that we could add if Justice had like if Justice was the 8 song against 9 songs on Master, cuz like you could add the Prince, for example. I would add the Prince. We'll throw in one of the covers. But we have to add something.
Well, tell me what we're adding because I don't know what's on the extended.
Well, I mean with Puppets there's not I mean, Adam brings up a good point. Look at Gibson Les Paul, Metallica versus Metallica. No thanks. What do you know, you hack? You just had a 10-1 score in a cage match against 2 of the Dream Theater's greatest records.
He's gonna pick Awake to win.
Yeah, you're just pissed off because you can't play thrash metal on a Gibson Les Paul very well. So just stop it. Kale says if we're doing Justice versus Master, we could cut Eye of the Beholder out.
No, I like that song.
Yeah, do the whole record. I mean, the only thing you could potentially cut, I would say, would be maybe Dyer's Eve because it's the shortest song. But, I mean, it's Dyer's Eve. You don't do that. Adam Rishog says, here's an interesting one, Puppets versus Ride the Lightning then. I think that might be too much of a landslide. Because when
Really?
you have... Oh, dude. I mean, think about it. You've got Trapped Under Ice going up against Disposable Heroes, for Christ's sakes. And then you've got Escape going up against Trapped Under Ice. Or not Trapped Under Ice. Escape going up against Leper Messiah. Like,
Yeah,
I love Ride the
true.
Lightning, but I mean, dude, man, that's a really difficult one. We'd have to add something.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Justice is going to have its own difficulties too. Then for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That's tough. I feel like Puppets is such a behemoth. I don't know.
Wait a minute, Adam, you're right. Am I screwing this up? Is Justice 8 tracks? I thought it was 9. Am I screwing this up?
I don't know.
I think I might be. No. I'm right. Okay. I said, don't screw with me that way. Yeah, Blackened and Justice for All, Eye of the Beholder 1, Shortest Straw, Harvester, Frayed Ends of Sanity, To Live Is to Die, Dyer's Eve.
Kale says Justice is 9.
Yeah, okay, so I wasn't wrong. Damn it, Adam. Don't make me question myself. Well, like I said, we could do a deep dive or we could do a cage match. I mean, if we were deep diving, I would say that Puppets would be the one to do, but I would love to do Justice.
I think a cage match because that way we can kind of touch on some multiple Metallica in one episode,
Okay.
because we don't want to drag it out into multiple episodes. I don't think.
So we get to give, you know what, we're allowed to give Gibson Les Paul the finger. He's the only one he's the only one of the listeners, fans, viewers, whatever, who ever had an episode done at his request. So he's like, no thanks. Well, you got your own episode, man. Screw you.
But here you go. Now this is something I would want your opinion on.
Okay.
Wait a minute. Sorry, this is the problem with this is going too fast.
Yeah. Well, there
There's
you
a
go.
comment in there about Rust in Peace. Where it is? There it is.
Oh God.
Put any of those up against Rust in Peace and watch them lose. No, I don't know that you can say Master of Puppets is going to beat Rust in Peace.
I have done Gibson. I have actually done. By the way, it's Peace. If you're gonna love the record, Gibson, let's spell it right. Gibson, I've actually done a deep dive, or I should say, a cage match, and Justice for All against Rust in Peace with Chris Aiken, who runs the CMS network, the network that we're on. One of my best friends, and man, that is a bitch. That is a bitch.
That's different than going against Master of Puppets, though.
Yeah.
That's a whole different animal there.
They do have the same amount of songs, at least, so that was easy. But
yeah, I don't know. I love Rust in Peace, but I don't think that's gonna hold up against Master of Puppets in this lifetime or the next.
Well, so Kale says, do multiple deep dives. Robert Reams says, cage match of Ride and Puppets, deep dive Justice. And then Kale, if Brian doesn't want to do Death Magnetic, I'll hang out. Well, we're only going to do the classic stuff because I don't think that'd be like, hey man, let's
dive on terrible albums. No, we don't need to do that. Yeah.
Cage match, load versus reload, go. Oh my Lord, yeah. Look at this. Gibson, yeah. So he heard it. He says, I was wrong. Tornado of Souls. I mean, come on, dude. Look, I've got to find the audio of that and share it to our page because that was pretty good.
Adam Rishog, am I the only one that thinks Megadeth sucks?
Yes.
Probably out of this group. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think we're proving one thing, that if we branch off and do some episodes of like bands that influence Dream Theater, I think that the people watching and listening actually would be into that. So we're not like going too far out of our wheelhouse. All right, JG3, you know what? You're banned officially. You are banned. First of all, you made me feel bad, like letting me know that I could have been on a Dream Theater record if I'd have played with Mike Portnoy at Madison Square Garden. But now you're saying Risk is an even more underrated Megadeth album?
We already did this before with Kale. And I think JG3 was in on it before, too. Somebody else was in on this Risk wagon.
It's trolling. It's trolling. It's all it is trolling.
Crush 'em. Hey, as I said before, it's better to like a bad Megadeth album than like some other horrible kind of music.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
That way. JG3. All right, you sort of redeemed yourself. Euthanasia is underrated Megadeth. Yeah, I do think it's.
Yes.
I think it's a tad underrated.
Yes, I definitely agree. So, all right, well, dude, that was a very spirited episode with some cool talk about other stuff outside of Dream Theater, which we've not really gotten into on the show. That was a blast, man. And now we have 2 weeks to prepare for our very first kind of off show. And we are going to dig into a band that really influenced Dream Theater and later pissed them off. Queensryche. We are going to be doing an album deep dive into 1988's Operation Mindcrime. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, so am I. I want to do some other background stuff on it too, but yeah, that is an epic undertaking of an album to compose, produce, record, and to deep dive as well.
Yeah. Adam Rishog, see you in 2 weeks. Love you guys. Love you too, brother. Good to see you, man. Yeah, that's definitely like I say, it's in my top three. There's 1984, there's And Justice for All, and there's Mindcrime in that order. And again, to me, it's a perfect record. So it's going to be an easy deep dive in that I really like every bit of it, but to have to, quote unquote, have to sit there and really dig into one of my favorite records of all time.
Darn.
Yeah. Oh, shucks. Oh, look at this, man. Bring this up. Alex, another newbie. He says, thank you for tuning in, by the way, man. Much appreciated. So I love this. First time listening live. Have to say that everyone in the live chat makes the podcast go to 11. That is awesome, man. Thank you very much. I Brian and I completely agree with you, man. That's why we love having everybody chime in here, man. It really drives the discussion and keeps the show moving. So appreciate it, Alex. Hope you had a good time, man. Tune in, like I say, every other Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. We're at Facebook, YouTube, talkingintoinfinity.com, and the cmsnetwork.com. So hang out with us, man. So this is JG3. Alex, hey, buddy. Don't listen to Jay. Jay's in the doghouse tonight. Don't listen to him, Alex.
Your buddy Gibson Les Paul is on fire. Queensryche are far more U.S. power metal than they were prog. I'm gonna disagree with that big time.
I don't think he's too far off. I mean, I don't think they're really power metal, because when I think of power metal, I think of stuff like, Dream Evil and all that Euro stuff. But
yeah, I don't think they're power metal, nor do I think they're prog. I think they're Queensryche. They sort of sit in their own little bit of a genre.
I think it can get a little proggy, but now don't crucify me for this comparison, but to me, because I always battle about this band, like Dokken, you can't really call them hair metal, but they're not like heavy metal.
I'm gonna crucify you. You're gone. Gibson Les Paul, just get the damn Metallica out of your system. After Master, they're boring as hell. Yes, they are. You are right, Gibson Les Paul. All right, let's bring John back.
Gibson, you're an ass, and so are you, Brian. Just wait. This Operation Mindcrime thing, I'm just gonna cut you off in the middle of every one of your takes, man. So, I don't know. Like, Dokken's another band, doesn't fit within like a specific, like, okay, you could go either way, and I think Queensryche's kind of the same way. It's interesting, but Well,
this has been fun. I mean, it's going to be one of those deep dives where we're not going to be saying. There's not going to be anything negative said, so I don't really know what we're going to be arguing about. But knowing you and I will find something maybe.
I do have one negative about the record. I will admit. I'll give a teaser.
Okay.
It ends.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it's so bad to do a deep dive into a record that we love, because it's fun, and it's like, again, like Alex said, like, the chat, like, people can dig into it, and it's good to get other people's opinions on it, because there are going to be people that are like, it's not that good, or I didn't like this part, I didn't like this song, and it's like, and that's interesting. So to me, it's cool. It's a good discussion to have, I think.
Well, and I think they were very influential in that first Dream Theater album, and some of the songs and the stylings of Petrucci and the way he played, and even the vocals from Charlie on there, just very sort of Tate reminiscent. And so if there never was a Queensryche, I don't know what that first Dream Theater album sounds like, but it wouldn't sound like that.
Yeah, totally agree, man. Well, so I will tell you right before I do our outro, I did forget to tell you how to end the show. You have to click in the upper right-hand corner where you click go live, and you do the same thing, like click it twice to get out. But on that note, we are going to get out of here. So we got to thank all of you guys for hanging out in the chat. Our good buddies, Kale and Adam, our first two listeners ever, first two viewers ever. Thank you very much. JG3, Gibson Les Paul. 21, we got another newbie. 2112 1974 says, after Puppets They're Aboard, Justice is one of the best metal albums there is. 2112, thanks for checking out the show, man. We appreciate you very much, and you are completely right. Robert Reams, Robert Husted, all of you guys, Daniel Wilson, thank all of you so very much for hanging out in the chat. We appreciate it. Again, if you are not subscribed on YouTube, go click that like and subscribe button so you get notified when we go live. Saturday, June 25th, mark your calendars, because we're going to have an awesome special episode. We'll have more details on that closer to that date as we are allowed to announce them. We are live once again here on Facebook, YouTube, talkingintoinfinity.com, and the cmsnetwork.com every other Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The next show will be Thursday, May 5th, and it will be our Operation Mindcrime deep dive. So, man, Brian, awesome job running the show. Thanks for covering me while Facebook is being a dickhead. And we will see you guys in a couple weeks. So click that goodbye button in the upper right, Brian. And hey, guys, thanks very much, and we'll see you very soon, man.